Hi, I'm Ed Amoroso from Tag Cyber, and I'm sitting here with my friend and neighbor, Bruce Flitcroft from TenFour. You're the founder and CEO.
I am.
It must be awesome to be the founder and CEO of a tech company. That's got to be pretty rewarding.
Well, it's awesome to be the founder and CEO of a successcul tech company.
That's good. Hey, how'd you get into this? What's a little bit about your background?
I have always been in this. I started right while I was in college. I was doing internships. Some of the same places you started. I started at Bell Labs as an intern and started a IT engineering company out of college. After that, got bought and helped build one of the first IT integrators. Took them public back in the 90s. And
IT was different then, right?
Very different.
Yeah.
It's kind of the Wild West.
It was. So the IT thing and that kind of an interface between IT and network, that's kind of where you guys focus, right? On how the network supports IT. Am I thinking about that right? Is that sort of what, when you think about TenFour, is that what should come to mind?
Yeah, as people use technology differently, the network is taking on a different role in all of their IT.
Yeah.
And it's not the typical networks we built 20 years ago, corporate networks, and we're not just leveraging like a large carrier for our network. They become far more sophisticated, and they extend into all parts of our business.
Yeah.
So we're building networks that are designed to support growing and changing IT environments.
And IT environments are very hybrid now, like a whole bunch of different things, right?
Yep. Most of the major advancements, though, are all coming in software in the last few years. The software explosion of technology there is causing a very different change in IT that the networks of the past really didn't think about. Everything from, artificial intelligence and IoT at the edge, and mobility apps. So your network now expands way outside of your business. Your domain is flexing and changing as people move all over the world. So we think of our network challenges a little differently than we did a decade or so ago.
How'd you come up with the idea of a utility kind of as a basis for IT infrastructure? Did that come from your customers? Did that come from a whiteboard? Where did you?
It came from a whiteboard.
Yeah.
There were two ideas that really coalesced. It was about 2008. The idea of the domain of the network. So we just came up randomly. I don't even know who said it in the room. Said, what if the domain of the network wasn't the carriers? What if it was the customer's domain? When we said kind of like their Active Directory domain. He said, yeah, but what if you don't think about it in terms of the operating system? What if you think about it as the whole network was their domain? So that would create 1 million domains out there. They'd all be different. It would be too complicated. And well, what if it wasn't? And that became the what if question. What if we could make it so that the customer's domain wasn't so complicated, and it was their domain and it served their evolving business needs and their IT needs? And that concept, it was a little more profound than we realized at the time.
I think it matches, like when you think protocol stack, as you go deeper into the protocol stack, things are more standard, right? You can duplicate things. I mean, you got massive duplication layer 1, right, obviously. But as you move up, I guess there's sort of that demarc where you can provide something very repeatable. And then way up at the application level, everybody's going to live all over the map.
Exactly.
That's the crazy. Is that the essence of what?
That is the essence. We've spent the last 7 years now, building very standardized architectures from starting with layer 1 through layer 2, 3, and even into layer 4, where everything is becoming a predictable standard. We're designing private domain networks using standardized Lego blocks for IT. Those Lego blocks we call ITUs, IT units. An IT unit can be a circuit, it can be a piece of software, it can be a piece of hardware. The key is to use the same Lego over and over, and to do it in a way that you know exactly the definition in a period of time of 60 months of that building block, that IT building block, and make it predictable for 60 months. Turned out it was harder than it looked.
That's the piece that attracted me when you first told me about it over a year ago. This idea of the standard pieces. I thought, wow, that's exactly what the security community, and that's sort of the connection. The security community clearly needs standardized parts that don't have all these unusual interfaces, services exported that are unneeded. These are that's the scourge of cybersecurity, when parts are too chatty or have a bad interface. And you guys solve a lot of that with the concept of ITO.
We do. It's the less is more concept. So there's so many, like, take a hardware manufacturer in the IT space. They'll have a reference architecture. It's basically their catalog of everything they make. We'll take that catalog of 10,000 different parts and we'll pick 18 out of it and say, these are the parts we're going to use. We'll do the same thing with various software licenses or code, and we'll break that down into predictable assets we call ITUs. And then that allows us to be able to make predictable the operations of it.
Let me use an analogy, see if this makes sense. When I buy a computer, there's a couple things I want to know about it. Maybe CPU, memory, whatever, but I don't care what your timing chip was. I don't care what cooling system you put in. I don't care what the I/O subsystems are. So many things I don't care about. Are you getting to the point now where a lot of network buyers take a similar approach with, like, do you have customers that say, hey, I want to know a few things, but for the most part, you pick. Is that right, or do you think more, or I'm guessing maybe network people are a little bit slower to give up on wanting to know exactly what's under the hood. But are we moving in that direction?
We are moving in that direction. We're seeing, particularly at the CTO and CIO levels, they're getting it. They're saying, listen, I really don't want to spend all my time trying to worry about these details.
You take care of it.
You take care of it.
The
analogy we use is, if you're buying your infrastructure, particularly the network, as a utility model, do you really want to know what the configuration on the wireless access point is? As long as it always works, it's always secure,
I want
it's there.
I want assurance.
It's kind of like, would you ever ask the utility company what brand and model transformer they put on the poles down your street?
How important is security to the whole equation in your mind?
It's enormous. We believe that we're actually changing the foundation of the security profile of a client. We are rarely described as a security company, but by having constant monitoring on every device, standardized configs, auto failover on the configs if they change, the idea of every incident gets triaged and we correlate it to the network traffic. We control access on and off the network. We don't let any of the tools reside outside the domain, so there's no reason to open up ports or leave. It's changing a very fundamental set of openings and surface attack area problems that have existed in so many enterprises. And we're doing it because it makes it easier for us to operate the network.
Hey, is SDN something we should be looking forward to?
I am so looking forward to SDN. Much of the internal design strategy sessions we have about where we're taking these networks over the next 5 years revolve almost entirely around adoption of elements of SDN as they become commercially available and capable. The key to SDN for the consumer someday is going to be as the end-to-end, from the whole application process, from when a mobile user wants to click on a request for data and it traverses the network, it goes to a web server, it goes to an application server, it goes to a database server, back to the application server, reroutes out to a third-party vendor through an API, pulls down the data to the application server, back to web server, and back to the mobile device. All those hops all affect the user experience.
They do.
And nobody is able today to look at all of that. Most of what we've been focused on for the last 2 years is the data collection around all those places in the network. What we're finding at the SDN of today is you make one change, say in a router, you create 3 more changes in the network that may have actually made the user experience worse, despite all the marketing around that great innovation on that one device. The promise of SDN is real. It's going to change how everybody uses technology. It's going to make everything work smoother and faster. We have a long way to go before all the different problems in making that a reality get solved in the marketplace.
You enjoying being a CEO?
Most days.
That's a very practical answer. Well, you've been at it a long time.
I have been.
Well, I love what you guys do. I think it's great for the security community. I like the contribution there, and I hope you keep doing it. and keep growing and serving a lot of customers with nice services. Thanks for stopping by, man.
Ed, pleasure.
And we'll see you next time.